Local programming on KRWG Public Media made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
This is KRWG Public Media, TV, radio, online, news that matters. Now, across the Mesilla Valley and the borderland, the stories that shape our community. From the KRWG Broadcast Center at New Mexico State University, this is Newsmakers.
Welcome to this special edition of Newsmakers, the best of living here. I'm Fred Martino. Today we take a look at some of the natural wonders in southern New Mexico, and we only need to venture a few miles from Las Cruces to discover them. We live in the Chihuahuan Desert, but most people don't know how much this desert is full of life. Then we follow the migration of the Sandhill cranes that stop just outside of Hatch on their way home south. We dive into the first dam built on the Rio Grande at Leasburg Dam State Park, and in the fall, the Burke Orchard grows a variety of apples in the Mesilla Valley. Finally, we visit the Las Cruces Museum of Nature and Science, which offers a variety of indigenous animals and fossils to explore.
A lot of people think, oh, there's nothing out there but desert. There's just nothing to look at. But you can come out every day, and if you slow down and look close, there's a lot of different things you can see. So we have a hiking trail that's 1.2 miles, that's very accessible. We have a shorter paved mini trail here at the nature park for strollers and ADA accessible with interpretive signs. We have plant identification signs, some picnic table shade ramadas. Great place to come out and watch the sun come up, watch the sun go down, bring a picnic, bring guests from out of town. You know, the Chihuahuan Desert, even though it's the largest desert in North America, is not well known. Everyone goes, oh, the Arizona saguaro cactus. But we have, lots of plants and animals here, and it's nice to come explore where you're not too far from town, but you're far enough out that you really feel that you're in the middle of the desert.
So the Chihuahuan Desert Nature Park is open 6 days a week. We encourage people to come out and recreate here. So we have a self-guided tour booklet. We have a 1.1 mile loop around this gorgeous hill that's behind me here. There are stops along the way that there's information in the booklet about the native plants and wildlife here, also some of the geologic features of the park. We hope to get people out here and have them learn a bit about this beautiful place, the Chihuahuan Desert.
The Chihuahuan Desert Nature Park started with a group of grassroots individuals more than 20 years ago. It was actually called the Las Cruces Nature Park. And they just realized that the nature park and the Chihuahuan Desert in general is a very unique place to live. And they wanted people to be able to appreciate the ecosystem that they lived in. So it progressed to where we got this property, the Chihuahuan Desert Nature Park. And about 5 to 6 years ago, we changed the name to the Asombro Institute for Science Education to better encompass all the education programs we do. Asombro means wonder in Spanish. It's that aha moment when you go, oh, and that light bulb clicks on. And that's what we want to instill, not only in the students that we teach, but in everybody. Come out to the desert and have that moment of discovery.
We have a wide variety of wildlife at the park here. And in fact, we have some wildlife cameras installed at the park that take pictures of the animals during the day and night. We've seen mountain lions, we've seen bobcats on these cameras, lots of birds like quail, roadrunners, earless lizards. We've got a lot of horned lizards, which are commonly referred to as horny toads in this area. We have a few different species of them. So we get to see a wide variety of things.
So the park is located east of Las Cruces at 56501 North Jornada Road. We have directions on our website also. You want to take Highway 70 east to Mesa Grande Drive, exit, and make one of those crazy under the highway U-turns to go back to the other frontage road. And at Jornada Road, you're going to make a right. We do have park signs that say Chihuahuan Desert Nature Park, brown park signs. And you go about 2 miles, and all of a sudden the pavement ends, turns into a dirt road. Very drivable dirt road. School buses drive it. It gets bladed a lot. So if you think, oh, dirt road, no, you're fine. 6.4 miles from Highway 70 north on Jornada Road. And then you see the big sign on the left for the entrance to the park. Park hours are Tuesday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
People often don't appreciate the beauty of the desert. It seems like to some that it might be a barren landscape, but actually there's a great diversity of species and beautiful things to see.
The cranes are here just during the winter. They normally start arriving here in October and depart mid-February, even out to early March. Two of the migratory populations of sandhill cranes winter here in New Mexico. One of them is the mid-continent population, which is the largest population of sandhill cranes here in North America. It's made up of over 500,000 individuals, and it comprises of the graders, the lessers, and the Canadian sandhill cranes. And these guys breed going from west to east up in Siberia, Alaska, northwest Minnesota, and then western Quebec. And the second population that winters here is the Rocky Mountain population, and these are primarily greater sandhill cranes. And these birds breed up in the Intermountain West, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, southeastern Utah, western Colorado. They come down here to escape the winter and the lack of resources to kind of support their energetic needs throughout the year. Come dawn, they leave the roost sites and start going out into the agricultural fields where they spend most of the day and acquire resources for energy, but also rest and just maintain. And there might be some movements back and forth between agricultural fields or various areas that they might use throughout a day. However, if there's not a lot of disturbances, these birds are trying to conserve as much energy as they can, so they don't want to increase expenditures unnecessarily. And then come dusk, they head back to the roost sites, and normally the roosts and foraging sites are within 10 miles of each other, so it's important to maintain that spatial relationship between where they forage and where they roost, just solely for the purpose of maintenance of their energy demands. The birds roost actually in the Rio Grande in shallow water. That's a pretty big requirement, so shallow water anywhere from about 4 inches up to 12 inches in depth. And then also some of the associated reservoirs, places like Caballo and Elephant Butte. They do have predators, you know. Crane's kind of formidable adversary. Not a lot of things are willing to mess with them, but you know, there's the occasions where they are threatened with predators. And the big reason why they roost in shallow water actually is for predator detection, and a lot of their predators are willing to go into the water and pursue them, and it also allows for them to detect them just based off of sound. Cranes are a very gregarious species of bird, highly social. They congregate in large groups, they migrate in large groups, they roost in large groups. And then there's different kind of subsets of the groups which you might see them in aggregates outside of some of these larger groups that roost together. So there's family groups, there's sub-adult groups, there's breeders, so mated pairs, and then there's also groups of non-breeding birds that aren't necessarily paired up with a mate. The sandhill cranes are perennial monogamists, so they form long-term pair bonds with a mate, and that normally lasts a lifetime if the mate doesn't die. And these birds are extremely long-lived. They can live upwards of 36 years. And that relationship is maintained not only during the breeding season, which is common for a lot of birds, but throughout the entire year. So the annual cycle, mated pairs spend a lot of time together and interact and solidify and forge their pair bonds. They're definitely highly social birds. A big issue is the forage availability for these birds, particularly here on the wintering grounds, but also on the breeding grounds, is changes in the landscapes. Shifts in agricultural practices away from grain production towards more of commodity crops has potentially reduced the availability of food resources for these birds. We currently have research ongoing that's looking into how these impacts influence the population, how these birds respond to these changes, and potentially looking at future scenarios of change, whether it be drought or changes in the distribution of resources on the landscape, and how these birds respond to those changes.
A lot of the people in the lower Rio Grande and in the Mesilla Valley wanted a way to harness the river water for farming, for agriculture. They knew there was a big potential here for large agribusiness. They'd always farmed the area, but they'd always sustained damage from the seasonal flooding. So they wanted to be able to control it, to be able to predict it, and have better control of not only the river, but their lives. The dam itself, for which the state park is named and was created, it dates back to completion 1908, and one of the historical significances of this dam is that it is the first dam built on the Rio Grande. And it's primarily built to divert river water into canals and acequias for agriculture primarily. The developed portions of the park that have camping facilities and trails and day use facility, they're about 250 to 300 acres. So we have both desert environment campground, we have running water, hot showers, a dump station, a visitor center, an observatory, a playground, and that is open year-round for camping. We get people here from all over the world. So we normally open the river day use area mid-March and we shut it down about mid-September. We have about 2.5 miles of walking trails. It's known as the Mogollon Trail. The trail does a complete loop. It takes you both through the desert environment up on top where the campground is, down along the river into more of a wetland riparian corridor. The park itself, especially the section along the river, was designated about 5 years ago by the National Audubon as an IBA, an important birding area, which is a thing of distinction for nationwide. So we have over 200 bird species that have been identified that either live here year-round or pass through here on a year-round basis. Everything from small sparrows up to large water and wading birds, great blue herons. We've also got a variety of fish that live in the river. If you have a New Mexico fishing license, you can fish. If you know how to swim, and it's up to your own discretion, you can get in the river and swim. We also allow canoeing and kayaking as long as it's with all the safety equipment. We do enforce the U.S. Coast Guard Boating Safety Act. We offer geology tours, cultural history tours focusing on either Native Americans or the Spanish Entrada from 1598 to the American military period tied to Fort Selden. We also offer native plant tours and various other tours, also geothermal and geologic tours and information as well. Our physical address is 12712 State Park Road That's where our visitor center and our campground is located. The River de Use area is on Leasburg Dam Road, which is basically an extension of Doña Ana Road. The day use fee is $5 per vehicle. We also have a campground. The camping is up on top of the mesa overlooking the river. And camping is $10 a night for a developed site that has a shade shelter, a picnic table, a fire ring with a grill, and a water spigot nearby. I would direct them first to our website, nmparks.com. Click on Find a Park, then click on Leasburg Dam State Park. You can call us as well. Number here is 575-524-4068. My family background is Native American and Mexican American, so it's already in my culture and in my family to value, appreciate, respect, and honor history and culture and nature, the environment. So I just decided, well, how can I take that connection, that love, that honor, that respect for nature and history and turn it into something where I can work in that and not only tell that story, but help protect them. One thing I always say is that this is a small river compared to other rivers, but the power of water and the powers of rivers is that they draw life. They bring things to their shore and to their edge that normally wouldn't be together. It draws them together.
It's just so different. It's like you cannot imagine what an apple tastes like until you actually taste a sweetened apple from a tree. My dad actually went to college at New Mexico State University to learn how to plant trees. And his dad was a farmer and his grandfather also was a farmer in the valley. My great-great-grandfather, I guess, had an apple orchard in Mesilla Park. And so my dad wanted to try growing apples because in the late 1800s, New Mexico in this area, in Mesilla, won international apple competitions for their apples. So he thought that he would be able to grow them and be successful. And so that's why he planted the apple orchard. That was 40 years ago. My dad, when he researched the apples, he felt like the best ones that would grow here were actually Red Delicious and Jonathan's. And then he grafted Common Delicious into the Red Delicious tree. The Jonathan apple is super delicious for people that don't like a sweet apple, but they like more like a Granny Smith. It's tart and it's kind of short and squatter, and it's able to self-pollinate. So we're able to always have a lot of Johnnies. So I call them little Johnnies. And what's really great about them is that they make the most incredible apple pie you've ever tasted in your life. They're just great. And at our elevation that we're at, it's actually the best apple for apple pie. It's better than a Granny Smith because it'll bake evenly and it won't be watery. So it's awesome. And so what happened was, over the years, without pruning the apple trees, we started having branches grow out near the trunk of the tree instead of just growing up high. And so now we have apples literally that are so close to the ground that a baby could crawl up and pick their own apple. So it's just a super place for families. When we have the orchard mowed really well too, it's so beautiful and people can walk in it. It's cool, it's lush, and then they can have their own apples. In the spring they can enjoy the blossoms. It's just a perfect place for families to have fun together, and no matter what the age of kid, if it's a child and it's a very young child, they just get so much joy out of picking their own apple. But even teenagers have fun trying to find the challenging apple that's up high and use the apple picker that we have to get those, so it's fun for everybody. So one of the problems we've had and why we're trying to fight to survive is not because we don't have like the most amazing apples, but it's because people don't know we exist. The orchard is very much hidden. It's a secret orchard because it's behind a pecan orchard. And nobody knows that they can just drive 5 miles away from downtown Las Cruces and go and pick their own apples. The best thing to do is to bring mosquito repellent, because at different times of the day there'll be some mosquitoes out. Also, if you come out in the middle of the day when it's hot, You'll probably want to wear sunscreen and maybe wear a hat. Sometimes it's also good to wear shoes that are closed like tennis shoes because it might be a little bit muddy in the orchard. And I've seen a lot of families that like to bring cameras because they get some really great photos of their kids. We sell our apples here at the orchard. We also sell at farmers markets, and we usually sell on Saturdays on the south side of the market underneath the New America School. And we also sell fresh homemade apple pies, apple bread, and apple cookies, lots of different things that are really yummy. I think it's the people in Las Cruces that make such a difference. I've never been anywhere, and I've traveled all across the United States and also in parts of the world. And I would say that, generally speaking, the people here in Las Cruces are some of the friendliest, nicest people you'll ever meet.
Our exhibits are focused on the animals that we have here in the Chihuahuan Desert in our nature center. And then we also have our Trackways exhibit talking about the Dimetrodon that's behind me, as well as the Robledo Mountains and all of the paleontological research that's going on. And we also have our Light and Space exhibit, which is a permanent installation that focuses on how we look up at space and what we see when we get there. We have activities for people of all ages, from pre-K through adulthood. Every Thursday morning we have a pre-K class that meets. It's open and free to the public.
So as part of the pre-K program, they have us do a little lesson about whatever we're learning about. And today was flowers. Yeah, you can have this flower. And they had us cut them open, look at all the parts, learn about all the parts. And then we did a little craft, which was awesome. You did great. I'm so in love with it. Yeah, you can.
We come every Thursday, and we like to come because it's an amazing program. I believe that he learns a lot, and I love that they do hands-on activities. They're able to make the activities based on the child's age. Megan, she's very good at knowing the length of how long a child can, retain information. So she gets videos that relates to the kids, and she has activities that are really hands-on based where the child actually grasps the knowledge. So I love it.
Every summer we have summer camps for kids entering grades 1 through 8, and we'll also be open late with activities for the whole family every Wednesday night. On Saturdays we have family science programming, our animal encounters, we have adult lecture series and new adult programming that's coming up this summer and fall that will include things like science trivia night and forensics. We'll also be continuing our Teen Science Cafe program this fall, which invites teens in to participate in science and meet with actual scientists and learn about careers in science.
I'm Josh Luca. I'm one of the volunteers that's here at the Museum of Nature and Science. The things I do around here is that I'm a docent, so I walk around and talk to them about things that are here. My favorite part about this museum would be the centerpiece of the museum, which is the large mega-track site. That is a chunk of about 35 feet or so of trackway from about 280 million years ago. It's tracks from multiple different animals that walked around the area at the time. It's a really neat thing to have, learn some things about the area, and you also have a fun time.
I don't know, I think they make it so easy. Everybody's so nice, they're so helpful. They help the kids during the little program times or story time. Everybody's awesome about it, and it makes it really fun for them. But everything here is really cool. The exhibits are awesome. It's something that we have here that's really neat. We should be using it more, definitely.
The Museum of Nature and Science is located at 411 North Main Street with an alternative entrance at 411 North Water Street. We're open Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We're free to the public and closed on Sundays and Mondays.
Hopefully I do my job as well in terms of talking to them about the animals that are here, the fossils that are here. Hopefully everyone has a good time. Hopefully everyone comes out learning something.
My favorite thing about the museum is that it gives people an opportunity to experience science on their own terms and start conversations that they may not have at home or in other places.
Thanks for joining us for the best of living here. This program is only possible because of our producers, Joe Widmer, Ralph Escandone, and Christian Valle. Thanks, guys. Subscribe to KRWG News on YouTube so you never miss a segment. And if you have an idea for the team, send us an email. The address is feedback@nmsu.edu. For all of us at KRWG News, I'm Fred Martino. Thanks for being with us.